It is a bonus that I'll be serving you people today, just to wash your feet today. Don't worry, it's not a mess, Pastor. It's a message today. Pastor Apes, I love you. I love you with all my heart. I really mean that. You and your wife, I love you, and you're really blessed to have your family also surrounding you. You know, your sister and the in-laws. It's really a reflection of what the church should be. The church actually is family. That's what it is. It's not some, I don't know, vague concept up there. It is just family. So it is good to be also have the support of the family. And that also it's a reflection of who you are. Because sometimes, not always, our families are turned off by us. I'm having a sweet here because you'd imagine if you are a preacher, you know that you become nervous, your mouth become dry and all that. So just bear with me. You understand that, isn't it? Yes, I greet you all in Jesus' mighty name. God is faithful. I'm happy that and forever grateful that he saved me. And I received him in Cape Town. Was in Guguletu at my grandmother's place. But I was born in Kimberley, you know, and as a young man I went to my granny in Cape Town. Though my great-grandparents, they come from the north, from a place called Gamatlala. It's in Petersburg. My surname is Low. Low, they say it's an African surname. It's from my mom's side. But I'm just allowing the Afrikaners to believe that. Because you can see, I'm not an Afrikaner. So, but my father's surname is Musila Khomu. Just check the vowels in between, you'll get the pronunciation all right. That's how it is. God has been faithful. I went to a funeral at the Eastern Cape. How many minutes do I have, Pastor Ames? Okay, thank you. I came this morning from the Eastern Cape. I traveled by bus. I went to support a friend of mine. His mother-in-law passed on, Pastor Mbulelo Jackson. He's residing in Cape Town. He's in the ministry there. I love him very dearly. And I've learned a lesson over the years that you can never say or claim that you love without parting with something. It is a fallacy. Though you can really also give without loving, but you cannot love without giving. It's just a fallacy. So when he's in pain, I'm also in pain. So I trusted God for funds. I went to the funeral. It was at a village not far from King Williamstown. So we take it for granted as we drive, and travel up and down that it's probably we observed all the stop signs and all that. It has been grace. It has been a journey of grace. And my arrival in Johannesburg this morning, I really thank God that he was faithful on the road. And you were in my heart. I prayed for you. As I was also relaxing in the bus, I was just in prayer. I've got a word for you. We are living in times where if there are any Bible scholars here, don't worry about homiletics. It's the art and science of preaching. I've drifted away from it and I don't regret that. But I don't say that's the way you should do it. I became more sensitive to the message, rather than the art of it. So, I have a word for you. We are living in the last days. We are living in times where there's a lot of confusion. There's so much confusion. that even in the house of God, people also end up a bit confused. Because sometimes many years ago, when the Lord taught me how to distinguish between what is pure and what is impure, when he says there are some wolves that are wearing sheepskins, and God particularly take me on a journey, and he said to me, it is not as obvious as a lot of us think it is. Sometimes people look at these visible mistakes or visible sins that are very obvious, and you think that is the wolf. And God clearly said to me, it is not detectable. That's how counterfeit is. The ladies were arguing on radio about counterfeit. And the other lady said she had this bag with a label, and she bought it for a lot of thousands. It was on 702 a couple of years ago. Whether it was a Louis Vuitton, I'm not even sure if I pronounced the name correctly. But she says when she was at the function, she saw another lady with the same bag but a different color. She left hers at home. And she complimented and said, it's so beautiful. And the lady said, thank you, sir. And the lady said to her, I just got it for a song. It was something like 250 or 200 rand. And this lady said she really, felt a bit of anger coming up, inside her, her belly. That she paid so much for what she thought was the actual thing. But this counterfeit looked exactly like her real bag. The issue is, it is the owner. It is the owner. And those that the owner has particularly mentored how to identify the real bag from the one that is not real. If you were never in contact with the owner, the guy who designed the bag, you will buy the counterfeit. I guarantee you. That is how identical they are. So a sheep and the wolf that is covered in sheepskin, it is so identical. That's what the Lord said to me. He says, you cannot just see it. You can't. You'll actually start confusing the sheep for the wolf and the wolf for the sheep. Because sometimes because of the immaturity of the sheep, it will seem a bit rebellious. And sometimes because of the craftiness of the wolf, it will seem a bit submissive. It is, you need the one who created both of them to understand the difference. It's in the days in which we are living in. You need the one who created. And God says to me, how will you identify them? I ask him, then how do I? He says, no, you relax and watch them. Like a shepherd. You take your time and look at them. Watch them. You see how they graze. One of the things he pointed out is you'll pick up the diet. Because what the sheep want is spontaneous. It is an innate tendency. It is something that is inborn to desire. It is not a choice. It's born to eat that. And the wolf, even if it is covered well, it's got an innate tendency. It cannot depart from its diet. The sheep looks down, grazes. The wolf looks at the sheep. It cannot help itself. We are living in these days unless you have the word in you. Unless you have the word in you, you are going to be confused. You are going to fall prey unless you have the word in you. It is only the word that is a lamp unto our feet and a light unto our path. It is only the word that is the measuring instrument. There's no any other method. You must immerse yourself in the word. You must. You have no options in the days in which we are living in. So I want us to read from the book of Amos, chapter 7. Amos is a prophet that was sent to the northern kingdom to minister there. They say he was not a professional prophet. I'm not sure what scholars mean by that. But Amos was sent out there to minister. At that time, the northern kingdom was flourishing financially. I don't say we need to starve, but there is a wrong instrument that is being used, that who is with God and who is not with God. Papa, it's not your bank balance. Your bank balance is not an instrument. I know men and you know men that are very wealthy and yet they are so far from God. So meaning that it is fallacious to judge in terms of somebody's possessions and want to conclude, yes, to have wealth, it is part of our portion. It is part of our portion. Poverty is from the devil, from the devil. It is from the devil. Let me tell you something that will shock your spirit. Poverty even causes incest. I'm telling you. So you must reject it. But what I'm trying to say is not preaching against us being wealthy, but I'm saying it's not the measuring. It is like one of the facets that we can see that God's grace is. You know, no values. Morality was low when God sent Amos. Let's read verse. This is what the Lord, from verse 7. This is what the Lord, what he showed me. The Lord was standing by a wall that had been built through a plumb, with a plumb line in his hand. And the Lord asked me, what do you see? A plumb line, I replied. Then the Lord said, look, I'm setting a plumb line among my people, Israel. I will spare them no longer. I don't want you to, my heart is on the plumb line. I know also among the Portuguese folk, God has graced them also with a skill of building. Whether the wall is straight or not, or it's leaning to the other side. Does it make sense? So it is a measuring instrument. It is a plumb line. So God was saying, Amos must put up a plumb. There was a plumb line against the wall. And that wall represented Israel. And that plumb line is the word of God. When you see plumb line in the word, you must know it stands for the word of God. It is the only thing that God has given us that we can see how far are we or how close are we to him. That is why Jesus mentioned things like, if you love me, he says, obey my commandments. He says to leadership, he says, if you love what they are doing, you sometimes ask yourself, what is it that they want from you? You know, you boy. Does it make sense? It's not a game. The Bible is not a game. The Bible is not, there's a lot of poems in the Bible. But it is not really for aesthetics. It is not just an entertainment thing. It is a thing when you immerse yourself in it.